Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Thursday and it's May the 13th, 2021. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our story today takes us back to Clarksburg in West Virginia. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, former VA nursing assistant sentenced to life in prison for murdering 7 veterans. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. This is a follow-up to a case I presented to you about 6 months ago, and it's about a former VA nursing assistant who pled guilty to the murder of 7 veterans. I want to provide you today an update. I wanted to tell you what happened when she appeared in court for her sentencing, but I want to encourage you to stick with me till the end because you're going to be shocked with what I have been able to find out. As a brief refresher, her name is Reta Mays, and she was a nursing assistant working for the Lewis Johnson VA Hospital in Clarksburg, West Virginia. Now, after a series of patient-specific deaths that seemed to occur whenever she was around, the hospital was able to link her directly to those deaths. It was reported that a total of 7 patients had died, and it was discovered that they received large doses of insulin, and based on their specific medical conditions, none of them had been prescribed insulin. So each death was reported as being suspicious. In fact, I believe 7 patients actually died from getting an overdose of insulin, and an 8th patient was affected. He received the insulin, but he survived. Now, after an intense investigation by the VA Inspector General's office and the West Virginia District Attorney's office, a grand jury convened and she was indicted, after which she pled guilty to 7 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. She was held in jail with no bond until her sentencing, and that brings us to where we are today. So last week, Reta Mays appeared before a judge to learn her sentence. Now, there were a few people allowed in the courtroom as spectators, and all proceedings were available via Zoom. I want to give credit to WYOB.com because they actually transcribed a minute-by-minute account of what took place in that courtroom. Now, other reporters have talked about it, but WYOB.com is by far the most comprehensive. It's a bit lengthy, but it's all available for your review, and I'll post a link in the description box. I am just providing just a few excerpts from their detailed summary. And again, thank you, WYOB.com. And according to reports, she appeared before the judge for sentencing last week, and the judge did accept her 7 guilty murder pleas. And that was followed by a letter from her mother and several victim impact statements. Now, those victim impacts were difficult for the families because some of them spoke about the guilt they felt just for taking their loved ones to the VA in the first place. And then they talked about additional trauma they experienced when their loved one's body had to be exhumed. So I'm guessing that as the government was proceeding with their case, they had to go back and dig up some of the bodies just to make sure additional tests were performed. And one person talked about having to keep the homicide investigation a secret for over a year. Now, after the victim impact statement, there was a short recess, and then it was time for Reta Mays to address the judge. She was in tears as she read from a prepared statement, and she told the judge she was sorry for all the pain she had caused. Then her attorney addressed the judge on her behalf. He talked about her military service, and he said that she had mental issues for which she was being treated at that same VA hospital in Clarksburg, West Virginia. He said she suffered from PTSD, depression, and military sexual trauma. He told the judge she was sexually assaulted during her military career while serving in Iraq. He also said she suffered multiple physical attacks from VA patients, which triggered her mental issues. He described one incident in which she was knocked unconscious by a punch to the face from a VA patient. And you know what? I can believe that. Her attorney also told the judge she was taking a lot of medication at the time of the killings. He said her husband had been sent to prison and her children were suffering from drug-related issues. But all in all, the attorney blamed the VA for allowing Reta Mays to care for patients in the first place. Seems kind of a silly defense because that was her job. She was supposed to be taking care of the patients she was assigned to. And then there was also a mention of the fact that at some point during a session with her mental health providers, she had mentioned the fact that something bad was going to happen, but they really had no way of relating that comment back to her job, and the fact that while she was on the night shift working at that VA hospital, she would end up killing several of the patients she was assigned to care for. Now, after her lawyer spoke, the district attorney read the names of the 7 deceased veterans and asked for 7 life sentences plus 20 years. And he described the symptoms those patients most likely had as they suffered and died. He described the fact that those patients were on their way to being discharged from the hospital. They were on their way to getting out of the VA hospital, and so they certainly weren't there ready to die. Then a government witness appeared before the judge and said that Reta Mays' PTSD had no bearing on what she had done to those patients. Then an investigator took the court. He told the court that Reta Mays, by her actions, had prolonged the investigators and wasted many hours of their time. He said that had she admitted to law enforcement earlier on what she had done, it would have saved them numerous hours of investigation time, and they definitely would not have had to go and exhume all of those bodies. The judge then took another short break before returning to impose sentence. He read the names of the 7 deceased veterans. He told her that there was no justification for what she had done. He made references to the fact that she had researched a few topics pertaining to serial killing. Some were even done at work, and he said she was not special because he had come across individuals with worse circumstances than hers, and they had found ways to overcome it. The judge then told the family they would never have closure because nothing that he was about to do was ever going to bring their loved ones back. Then the judge called Reta May a monster that no one saw coming. He then sentenced her to 1 life sentence for each of the 7 guilty pleas plus 20 years. Now the 20 years is for the 8th victim who survived. Okay. Now her life sentences will run concurrently, and she would be credited with time served. And keep in mind that Reta Mays is not eligible for release. Since the judge assessed she was not in a financial position to pay a fine, he waived one in this case. However, she will still have to pay restitution to each of the victim's family, to the VA, to several health providers, and a few other individuals. So a life sentence is not going to be the end of it all. She still has several financial obligations to settle, and she and her attorney now has 14 days to appeal the sentence. Her attorney asked the judge to send her to a prison facility out of state that has a mental health unit, and the state attorney general did not object. So that's where she's going. And even though the name of the facility is mentioned in the transcript, I'm electing not to mention it here because it's not really that important and it doesn't really add anything to my presentation. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This case is far from over. Earlier this month, there was another publication with this headline here, and it says, 10th settlement reached in West Virginia VA hospital death. It says that the federal government recently agreed to a 10th settlement pertaining to suspicious death at the particular VA hospital in Clarksburg, West Virginia, where Reta Mays was mentioned as being involved. According to what was being reported, this patient number 10's family, I'm not going to reveal the name, but the court awarded the family a settlement of over $600,000. In their filing, the family and the legal representative claimed the veteran's death was the result of insulin that he was injected with by this particular nursing assistant, Reta Mays. And it kind of makes you wonder how much money the government has already paid out, because if this is number 10 and this one is $600,000, I would really like to know how much money the VA has already had to pay out as a result of Reta Mays' action and a result of the leadership failing to supervise her actions. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, it did, because I almost fell over in my chair as I continued reading that article. It states that the district attorney indicated there were approximately 20 suspicious deaths related to Reta Mays. However, she was only prosecuted for 7 deaths and 1 attempted murder because those were the ones the DA and the investigators were definitely able to prove. So Reta May was a very busy woman on the night shift at that VA hospital, and it wasn't because she was providing the best possible care either. She was busy killing the patients at her discretion. And it's quite possible that the actual number of crimes she committed may never be fully recognized. This is just shocking because I don't think it's over yet. And there's just no way the VA can say they're not responsible because you had a nursing assistant who should have had nothing to do with medication. They left her unsupervised and they left medications available for her to her, and she apparently felt comfortable enough to inject them in patients over and over and over again. And guess what? The leadership were not fired. They were simply moved to other jobs, still gainfully employed by the VA. This to me is even more unbelievable. Would be interesting to know how they are going to make sure this never happens again. Seems to me one of the first steps would have been to discipline those in authority, not reward them with higher paying jobs. I think that doesn't make sense because it defeats the purpose. Simply unbelievable. And tell you what, I am just exhausted with this case. So I am going to stop here for now because I can tell you what the IG, the Inspector General, found, which is essentially sloppy leadership. Sloppy leadership, poor management. But leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on this notification bell right here, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.